Let
Yep.
us know when we're live. Oh, we
Looks
are
like
live. Hi, everybody, and welcome. This is Certified Life Coach Institute here, and today we are discussing pricing. Before we begin, I want to introduce everybody. So let's begin with introducing Desiree Slasher.
Hello, everyone. My name is Desi, and I am one of the lead facilitators here with Certified Life Coach Institute. And it's awesome to be with you guys and drop in today talking all about pricing and packaging.
And up next, we have Jerome Leduff Jr.
Hello, everyone. I'm an admin with CLCI, and I'm here to add some value to this conversation today. And I'm excited to get talking about pricing with you guys all.
And then we have two of our newest graduates, brand new certified life coaches. Yeah. Let's begin. Tina Marie.
Hi, I'm Tina Marie. I am a certified life coach.
And Bobby Lynn.
Hey guys, Bobby Lynn Dawson. I'm a new certified life coach specializing in career coaching here in Florida.
Very nice. So you guys just completed level 1 and you guys are now going to go out and start coaching, right?
Right.
That's
noon.
So the natural next step is to price. I mean, that's a big thing. So real quick, let me everybody I want to hear from Tina, Bobby, and Desi on this. Tell me about how your initial approach to pricing, what your initial thoughts are, what you feel about it. If you have any questions, if it makes you nervous, and Desi, what your experience was as well. So let's Desi.
Yeah, so I started life coaching back in 2014. So things have really changed in the last 6 years or so. And now I approach coaching as value-based coaching. And so someone isn't paying for a single session. What they're doing is they're paying for the value of our relationship together and for the value that it's going to make in their life long term. And so these are everlasting results that will shift you personally, shift your friends, your family, and even make changes in your family lineage and the way that your family takes on new philosophies and a new way of thinking. And so it's definitely will impact your life forever. And so I look at it as value-based coaching.
And so we can quickly, when Tina and Bobby, I promise we'll get there. But real quick, let's talk about value-based coaching. And so there are different ways we can price ourselves as coaches, right? So one of those ways is hourly, and that's by the hour. And that's a good place for coaches to start. Right? I mean, it is sort of, if you're getting, it's really the most straightforward, right? It's clean cut. There's no guessing. There's no having to prove anything. This is the time. This is the service. This is the hour, and we're going to meet. But when you get into other kinds of coaching, like business coaching, executive coaching, things like that, what you can do is you can start to assess the value of what you're going to do. So if you're working for a client that is has a business that's a multi-million-dollar business, and they say to you, well, I want to be coached, and in doing so, it's going to be this valuable. They'll give you that, and that this would happen in a discovery call, right? That's how you can price yourself with value. So if it's that valuable, then that's how you base your value in your value-based coaching. Is that correct, Desi? Is that sort of catch the gist of it? It's based on what they will get out of it, and you then pick a percentage of that, right?
Yes, definitely. I think I have a different perception of value-based coaching. And so, but yes, if you are going to coach somebody, are you talking about like percentage of sales? And
well, I'm just wondering, so because you say value, I mean, how do you choose that value is what my question is. So I know with business coaching, we can look at sales, and we can go, okay, this is it. This is the return on investment. You can decide and negotiate a percentage from that. But in coaching, it can be a little more. I'm just wondering what your approach is, how you do that, so that then we can share that information with others, and so they can do the same. So.
Yeah, so I definitely, when I look at a coaching contract, I'm looking at my experience. I'm looking at the decades of just living, the wisdom that you have. I'm looking at the how much you've invested in training financially, plus your time. I'm looking at travel expenses of just going to those trainings plus time. You're looking at the cost of the books that you've bought, how much you've invested into a coach, how much you've invested in a business coach. And all of these things start to add up. We haven't even started to add in marketing costs like networking meetings and joining the Chamber of Commerce. And slowly but surely, in order for you to get your business started, it's cost you, a lot of money to get started. And so when you think about just the value of your intellectual property, plus how long they're going to be working with you, let's say 12 weeks, 3 months, and then the everlasting results that they get is going to be priceless. And so I believe that as coaches, we undervalue ourselves. And if you were to start to do the P&L statements, if you're not charging a significant amount that seems reasonable so that your value is met and their value is met, you're actually losing a lot of money.
And furthermore, if you undervalue yourself, you're undervaluing life coaching and the profession on some level. There's a whole psychology behind pricing that there was a study done where this woman, or was a study, it was kind of accidental. She had accidentally priced all of her turquoise jewelry at twice the price of what it was originally, 2 times. And it ended up selling out, hand over fist. She had intended to half the price because it wasn't selling prior to that. Why? Because by increasing the price, there was an added value. It meant in the eyes of consumers, they thought, wow, this is a more valuable product now, and had to buy it, because there's a whole psychology behind pricing that goes on. And so underpricing yourself can actually work to your detriment, not only personally, but in the odds of somebody converting, is what we call it in the marketing world. So it's very important to ask what you're worth. One of the ways when I started out, I listed out all of my expenses, what I need to live every day. I then took that and I looked at how many hours a week I wanted to work. And then I divided it, and I said, okay, if I want to work X amount of hours, I need to make a minimum of this much. And then that was really a good place for me to start, because then I knew this is my bare minimum. I could never ask for less, because I wanted to live, eat, and breathe. And so that was very important to me. So that's a good place to start, rather than just plucking numbers out of thin air. You can start to really sort of figure out what you need to live and function. Now, if this is just a thing that you're doing and you have a real daytime job and you don't ever intend to have it, then you can price just about anything, right? But if this is something you want to be a profession, you have to figure out what you need to live and how to survive. And you have to ask that as a minimum to start. That's very important. So real quick, let's turn it over. Let's talk to Bobby Lynn. Tell me about your pricing plan thus far,
Well, I love what Desi is saying about value-based pricing, because I do believe that's very important, and we do undervalue ourselves frequently. Also, Brooke, really like what you're saying about the corporate perception. I am from a corporate background, so we spent a lot of money on corporate training and corporate coaching and flying everybody into Atlanta, and the expenses and the hotels and all of that. So the money is out there, and it's certainly with corporations, but I do believe it is in helping them understand our value that we can bring, whether it's based on our experience, based on our knowledge. All of us are bringing that to the table. So I believe that is very important, certainly. So that's a good tip, Brooke. Thank you for that on working with corporations. At this point in my community and what I'm looking at career coaching. So I am looking at $125 an hour for career coaching, or a package of 10, because I want to keep them coming, for $1,000. And I feel like that will give me a good baseline of clients. And then, as Desi said yesterday, or whatever day in the classes, always give yourself a little bit of a raise. But I believe here in our community, I'm really looking at what are other counselors pricing things. And then I'm also trying to look at packages because I believe those really speak to people and the amount of savings that they could get. And I want them to book 10 packages or 10 sessions. So I'm looking at that. The other thing I'm looking at, because I want to, the other branch of career coaching is with juniors and seniors in high school or perhaps freshmen in college. I want to do some career assessment with them. So I'm looking at, and I'm open to ideas on this, but I'm looking at a $500 package that would include the career assessment that they would take, my analysis of that, and then 4 hours of coaching. So that 4 hours, 1 hour could be with mom and dad and 3 hours with the student. They could break that up or however they wanted to do that. But just $500 is a number that's ringing out to me that through the summer, I could go ahead and begin working with these incoming seniors into high school and for them to do career assessments and to find out some of their gifts and what they're interested in, so that as they begin to apply to colleges, they're going to have some idea of even what type of college to apply to. So I think for me, mostly I've been looking at the package pricing, but I really like what you said about the corporations as well.
By the way, I want to say if anybody wants to chime in on any of this, it doesn't just have to be myself and Desi. And so Tina, if you have any thoughts, or Jerome as well, please
Just
share.
actively listening over here.
I'm excited to hear from everybody and what your experience with that has been, because I know, Desi, you showed us some packages and felt that was something that had worked for you. And Lisa, obviously it's something that's worked for the institute itself. So
Well, I
have
think,
a question.
yeah, go ahead,
Okay,
Jerome.
really quickly. So we're speaking about packaging and right now, and I'm just I want to put into perspective, is there really a major difference just based on your guys' opinions in packaging when it comes to having a client, or is a one-time session type deal maybe something that is okay? I'm just interested in going into that realm, kind of walking that space a little bit if we can.
I've had both. I've had the one-time session where that's all it needed to be. But if you want some people returning, the psychology of people is that they get easily distracted. And if they don't have a motivation to return, a lot of times life gets in the way. And so it's really easy to just sort of put coaching to the side, put that to the side. So without that commitment of, okay, you've already paid for this beforehand, it's a lot harder to get them to come through the door. Whereas if they prepaid you, they're much more inclined to keep returning. Desi, do you have the same feeling, or?
Yeah, there's a lot that goes with this. I like doing one call to allow someone to be able to have the opportunity to feel and go through a coaching experience. It's that part where you wouldn't just go buy a car, most likely, without test driving it. And so I honor single sessions, but I always look at the value of enrolling them in a 3-month package, because we're creatures of habit and we go back to our old ways. And sometimes a single session is just a temporary band-aid. And so they need someone to be able to stay with them and have accountability and follow through, and to be able to actually lead them towards a vision. And I think that's what really differentiates us different from counseling and therapy, is that we are working towards a long-term vision. And typically it takes more than just one session to get there.
Well, and that's important to note, like talking about how when you create the session contract, right? You're creating a contract not only for just a session, but for goals far out, right? And so the idea is, when you set those far out goals, they're gonna want you by their side through that as you're taking those steps. So it's just as important to set, when you set that contract, to set the contract for the session, but also set the contract long term and figure out what that long term goal is, and see and make sure that your sessions are relating to getting to something further out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Tina.
Just to piggyback off of really quick, I know that human nature, if I haven't seen someone in a long time and the first time I see him, we're all like, whoa, and we're, both telling each other everything in the world that's happened since the last time we've seen each other. If you have a one-time session with someone, they might be, going over all these different things, asking all these different questions, inquiring about this, and you don't really get a particular goal set and reached and set and reached and so on and so forth. So I know that with a longer contract, or knowing that I'm going to see someone on schedule routinely, I can focus on what I need to focus on for that particular session. But when you just do like a one session, unless like you guys have said, it's someone who just needs to really focus on that one thing, when they come to you, they're gonna come to you with all kind of stuff.
I think
with my experience, I have only had, and I've had a lot of clients, a couple of clients that worked rather quickly. Most people don't work in that rapid succession. They need more time to build the direction that they're going. With my first session, I basically charge full price, but I give them a little extra time. So I'm discounting it that way. My time's valuable. I want them to feel like their time's valuable. I have different ways that they have collected payment. So I'm speaking more about couples coaching. When I do work with couples, I have a couple of packages that I work with them. To the very minimum, they prepay their next session and they have a little discount just by doing that. That helps keep them coming back and accountable. Along with the packages. And there's some research even behind commitment and what people are willing to commit. Usually about 14 hours they're willing to commit. Anything over 14 hours seems a little too much. And then sometimes under that, it's not the best value. So it just think about when you're building. And now obviously I'm talking about more one-on-one. We're not talking about executive coaching. That's a different price point altogether. So consider the timeline. Go ahead.
Also, but to bring that up, just even though she said that the 14 is that sort of the max that people are willing to pay, there's a psychology, again, this is marketing and pricing psychology. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't put a price out there, because anchoring and priming is important in pricing. So if you put a price out there and you want people to pay for the middle price, so you want people to buy 12 sessions or 14 sessions, right? You want to have comparative with your own. So you're going to have one that's a lot lower probably, and one that is either almost the same thing at the same price, but you get more things under it. So it's a whole psychology behind it. But one will always tend to choose the middle. And then also, if this price seems that much higher, if you've got 20 sessions, they're like, oh, I can't do that. Comparatively, they'll feel a lot more comfortable doing the middle one. Because what'll happen is, what it does is it changes people from bargain shopping to value-based shopping. So that's what doing that middle price is a good thing. Or if you only have two. So there's an interesting study that was done. There was a gentleman, he had one thing for $59, and then two of the exact same thing for 100, or no, not two prices, 125 and 125. But one was, let's say if it was coaching, one was 3 sessions, and then the other one was 3 sessions, plus you get unlimited email contact, right? But they were the same price. So naturally you're going to go, why would those be the same price? Why would you even do that? Well, what that does is it makes people ignore the lowest, pay attention to these two prices, and they end up going with the picking the higher price in that. So there's a whole mentality that goes on with people and looking at pricing. The number 9 will, of all things, get you people to buy your product using the number 9. So it's very important. But let's talk more. So packages are important, and that's when you're doing an hour-based thing, and it's what keeps people accountable. So it gets them returning. And Lisa mentioned doing a prepaid sort of discount, even just on one session. Really quick, let's talk about how pricing may vary, and then Tina Marie, I haven't forgotten you, but this might lead into that actually. Maybe let's talk about the difference in coaching and what kind of coach you are, and how that might affect your pricing as well. So tell me, Tina Marie, talk to me about your pricing, and also talk about what kind of coach you want to be, what you want to do.
So I am a mindset and accountability, moreover, women's empowerment coach. That is the direct audience that I am pretty much aimed at. Usually your audience reflects you. And I have been from struggle to success, and I want to help other women come through that. In that being said, I do know that in my area and within the realm of my target audience, some women may be in a financial struggle. The women that I'm, targeting per se, maybe extravagant women, but just need that extra push, but don't have the finances. So ultimately, I want to go 501c with mine and be a nonprofit. But for now, I want to do a sliding scale. I don't know, you guys all got yours, like even Bobby Lynn said. But I want to do a sliding scale because I know that when I was coming back, I've gone through homelessness and all kind of stuff. And when I was down in the dumps, if I could have had a a licensed life or a certified life coach that was, there to help me, I would have been able to remove some blocks, get past certain things, change my thinking. And so I really want to be able to help that realm.
And I want to speak to that really quick. I think that, without a doubt, everybody can use life coaching, but and if you 501c, it's a whole other beast, right? At that point, it's so yeah. However, it behooves you to, no matter what, get them to pay you something, whatever that may be, right? Get them to make the transaction, because what will happen is it gets them comfortable paying. Desi, do you have thoughts? Yeah.
Oh, most definitely. You guys have probably all experienced, you give away free advice and people aren't taking the advice that you're giving. They're always there to want to receive it. But money does talk, and it gets people moving. And I love the sliding scale. It is something where you probably want to have them provide proof of income of where they're at. And then also you got to be mindful that if you have a bunch of people on sliding scale and they're at the very bottom of the sliding scale, and then you fill up your practice, and then you're not really making and generating the income that you need. So we have to be mindful that if you're charging less and you fill up your calendar, then 3 months later, you're not able to really take anybody new on. And so just being aware that we could create blocks in our schedules and go ahead.
What are your thoughts on like doing, in that case, for doing like a group coaching kind of thing? Would that, that might be something that you consider, because you can get in 1 hour, reach a lot more people in a much, and be able to make that hour more valuable, essentially, right?
Right. So that group coaching is really a great idea to help disperse some of that payment that you must get per hour to accommodate your life, your business, livelihood. There's also a place where you go, I can take X amount of people who are scaled in this price range, but everybody else has got to pay the full amount. So there's different ways that you can manipulate that so that you are sure to be paying your bills and living your life as you need to as well. The idea of know your worth, know that you have wisdom, know that you're continuing to grow and change, and that puts value on who you are as a coach as well. Not that we're telling our clients who to be, but your intrinsic value helps the process along as well.
Well, everybody here.
That's exactly the route I was going to take it, Lisa. Sorry for interrupting, Brooke.
No, you're fine.
Have like a blocked out amount of maybe 5 or whatnot. And then, like you said, everybody else needs to pay. And that way it's kind of, there's a balance.
Mm-hmm.
I also do have the luxury of, because I have a job. So, and I like what Desi said during school, don't start a coaching business without a career, without a job already. But weaning off my other job, I'll be able to not have to take too many hits by allowing some of my clients to be low or no cost, low cost. I'm doing all my pro bono work now.
I'm also going to suggest that there's a way to build out value, even from people, let's say, that are paying less or can't pay. One of the things I ask my clients to do in these situations, if they have somebody that, like, one of my clients is working with a homeless woman right now. And I said, well, let's build out a social contract with her so that basically she, as she's going through the process, she shares about it on social. She is able to post about it and post about her transition. And we gain value from a marketing perspective at that point, right? Because we can tell the story of her transformation. We can tell, and all of that adds value to our business through the process. So and at the same time, it's holding them accountable too, because now when you do that, build something out like that, you want to make sure you get really specific. I need one post from you a week. I need a guarantee that you will like 3 things, and it's very nitty gritty, and you get down to the fine details, but you have to do that because that not only guarantees your end, but it also holds them accountable on their end. And it's a great thing that you can do that will help make sure that you have some stuff handled on the marketing side too.
Yeah.
And it's a good way to bring value in. Now you've got to have people who are willing. Sometimes people aren't willing too. So, but a video testimonial is probably one of the best things you can do. It's amazing. So building that in is great.
That could be something I could put in a disclaimer at the beginning of, if you're in this bracket of payment, low cost or whatever, I would also have for you to such and such, such and such. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Perfect.
It helps them to feel value for themselves as well. They're not just getting something for free. They're valuing themselves, and they're having to put that effort in. One of the things that I like to use the word pay it forward concept is not only help you to help yourself, promote me because I'm helping, help you find that space, but pay it forward.
Mm-hmm.
And that pay it forward, the heart can sing through that too.
Yes, especially because as women coming from struggle to success, sometimes we don't feel like speaking out or fixing anything unless we see another woman's story that really hits.
Yeah. Well, and that gives them permission too. It gives them to share that story too. It gives them the not only permission, but the platform and the reason to, because sometimes we feel like, well, no, I mean, why would we do this? And nobody's going to listen and it doesn't matter, but you have just made her voice important right there. Right.
Yeah.
Desi, thoughts? Jerome? Either one?
Going back to I'll just piggyback on that. I think it's really important if you're doing any pro bono work or trade work to definitely collect your testimonies, get the videos, allow them to sign off on doing, like Brooke had mentioned, the social media updates, and being able to use that as valuable content for marketing and promoting yourself. And then also, this space of our pricing ourselves as coaches, and some people can afford it and some people can't. And that's where we can look at having 3 different options. And the first option is an evergreen product. And maybe you offer that for free. It's 6 digital courses, 6 videos of you teaching something, and it's absolutely free. And then you can have your group coaching program. And then anybody who doesn't want to do group, then they would go to premium or VIP and do one-on-one coaching. And so you have 3 different options so that many people feel like they could be served.
My thing, well, it's perfect. I love what you're saying, but the marketer in me goes, okay, wait, if we have 6 videos, what we do is we only release a portion of each of those videos, and then for them to upgrade, pay either for each one individually, or they can get the package for this. Like, that's like 2 videos.
Give them a sneak peek.
I'm like, no, give them the taster. But that's really the mentality. This is the mentality of the upsell, which is something that anytime you're getting, which this will happen if you haven't already, those things from business coaches that are like, we're going to 6-figure coach. I think we'll make you one in this amount of time. And it's a bunch of promises. Yeah. What they're doing most of the time is they're teaching you sales techniques and sales techniques that have existed forever. And that's what they're really doing, is you're going in to learn sales techniques. And a lot of those sales techniques are as simple as, okay, you're doing up funnel pricing. Your pricing steps up, because the moment somebody gets used to handing you $10, it's easier for them to hand you $40. When they hand you 40, it's easier for them to hand you 100, and up from there. And that's why you want to start getting, even on the littlest level, people to hand you money. Why? Because then you know who will and who isn't, and that can really help you define your audience. Because while you may think your audience is one thing, it can turn out to be a totally different thing, because they're the ones that are willing to pay you money. Bobby?
Address something right now. Is sometimes people will come to class and not be able to charge because of that, and because this is, you know, human to human work, heart to heart work. How do we charge for that? How do we? And the concept about that is this is a business. We are talking about a business model. We are not talking about where you volunteer your time and your energy for volunteer work. This is a business. You're conducting business. And if you're conducting business, time does equate to money in this, but it does not take away from the experience of your hearts doing the work. Be mindful that in order to be able to go on and help that next person, you've got to live and survive and breathe in this process and be able to pay for things too. That's it.
Not only that, but you'll be surprised. Like I've had clients who came to me and I you know, they get sticker shock or what have you. But then what they do is they've come back 6 months later. They've come back a year later and they're like, I have the money now. I want to do this. And what a huge compliment that is for me, right? Like, whoa, like you've been waiting this long and you're still coming back. And not only that, but how much does that show? I mean, that just, there's such a reciprocation at that point. Like I want to do nothing but amazing things for that person because she figured out how to figure it out and do it. And that meant that much to her. And it creates this really cool bond moment where it's just like, wow, it builds your self-esteem from a coach level to have somebody do that. Bobby Lynn, I think you wanted to say something.
Well, I had a question. Actually, I want to hear more from all of you. Desi, you mentioned it specifically, but about the group coaching. Have you found that really to be effective? Have you found that to be effective, maybe one group session and then everybody moves to private sessions? How have you utilized that? And how have you priced that?
Desi, do you want to start or do you want me?
First, I think group coaching is an amazing opportunity. It builds community, it builds momentum, it gets people motivated. People don't feel like they're alone. And it is a special group of people that enjoy it. Not everyone wants to be in one-on-one or be in group coaching. What I'm seeing right now for a group coaching program that's 12 weeks is going anywhere from $2,000 to $2,500, and that's for group coaching.
And that's kind of the magic number. Everybody seems to do 12 weeks is pretty much what the accepted norm is across the board. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so 12 weeks, anywhere from $2,000 to $2,500 a person. And then you're basically with group coaching, you're teaching for maybe 5 to 20 minutes max. And then the rest of the time is community discussion, laser focused coaching, whatever it may be for you in your topic area, in your niche.
So will you speak a little more to that? So will you talk, okay, so we have a teaching moment, right? Because that can be a little confusing for people who know what coaching is. We ask questions. So but in group coaching, you get a little more of an opportunity to be the teacher, right? And then you said what comes after that teaching moment is they ask questions. Talk a little more about what that after part looks like.
Yeah, so I've been a part of many different group coaching programs years ago, just so I could get an idea of what it is and be in the seat of a student. And so most coaches, they've designed some sort of program, day 1 to week 12. You're going to go through this experience together with like-minded people, and you're going to get a similar end result at the end. And so in this process, you jump on, you're going to do some sort of lecture. It's like going to school, going to college, taking a college class. They're going to do a lecture. They're going to teach you whatever the lecture is for the week, go over the weekly homework, and then they open it up to discussion. There might be Q&A. There might be laser focused coaching. They might draw names out of a hat to see who gets a personal coaching session right there in the group, and everyone watches, because as you watch someone getting coached, you identify yourself in their story.
I was just going to say that's exactly what I was going to say. Because just coaching one person can teach the group, right?
Yeah. And
it could be such a jumping off platform, for others that then decide that they want to do the individual coaching. Certainly for us as new coaches, I'm thinking like with my client base of wanting to work with juniors and seniors in high school, if I could do some this summer group coaching sessions just to get the parents in there, get the kids in there, charge some up front, and then schedule our sessions throughout the rest of the remaining school year as they're looking at their different colleges and stuff.
And that's the amazing thing too about doing even like talks, right? And that's why getting out there and doing, you know, live talks with people, being comfortable enough to say, okay, I can get out there and speak about something that I'm passionate about. And then you can, from that, you can pull people, customer base, and bring them in. And if you're speaking, there's speaking engagements you can get paid for. If you're speaking for free, just know that everything you're doing should have a purpose. Like, don't spread yourself so thin. So when you're doing all these things, one of the things I find with clients is they'll start to do everything, but it's netting them nothing, right? It's doing them no good. So really sit back and in every situation, identify what the purpose is, the call to action, what the end result is going to be, what that goal and what the reason for doing that and how it will benefit. And then figure out how to best serve that goal within that experience. So if it's talking, if it's doing a group coaching in Facebook, right? Figure out where that leads. What's the step after that? I'm not just doing this because for fun, you know, no, you're doing it because this is a part of your job and it's going to lead to something else. So make sure that you are first have that clear here, because otherwise it's not going to, people won't know where to go, because everybody, the people who want to follow you or want to hire you are looking for you to show them how. They want the easiest way to get to you. And if that's group coaching, if that's, you know, what have you, make sure that that's built in and there's a purpose to it and there's a structure, and that's that sales funnel that you come up with. So you start out with again, like we said, something less price, and that takes them to the next step, which is priced a little more, and that will take them to the next step, which would ultimately result in one-on-one coaching, which should probably be your highest cost item. So
another question with just in conversation here, because I know some of you said that you did and some didn't, but putting pricing on your website or being very open about the pricing. I believe that Lisa is very open with hers. Some people are not. So I'd love a discussion about that.
It's really a preference. Some people want to keep that because it can be sticker shock. Others want, like, I just put it out there because then it gets people prepared, you know, okay, this is probably what it's going to cost me. And so they can start to marinate on that. But sometimes there's value in not showing either as well, because if you're doing value-based coaching, it's not going to be universal. It's not going to be the same for everybody. If you're doing a sliding sale, it won't always be the same for everybody. So it's really a matter of preference. It's also, so there are coaches who offer two different things. So what's it like when we get both those things? What's it like? So it just, that is a really up to you moment.
I think it's also going to be important, though, to be able to sell it.
Yes.
That you have your heart and passion involved with that piece. If you're not going to have that, whether you have the price or whether you don't have the price, you have to know how to speak about it, and you have to know how to represent you are now your favorite product. You have to represent your product and be proud of it. And in that voice, whether you put your price or not, that still has to shine through ultimately.
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's really, as Desi would say, your purple cow, right? That's why it's so important to find your niche and find that thing that you are passionate about. I even say you can push it to, how can you define yourself in like 2 or 3 words? And that's what you focus on and start talking about. And that's where your motivational speeches come in. That's where pick a topic, and that's where you become an expert on that topic. And then people will seek you out for that. Decide what that is for you. Bobby Lynn, if it's career coaching, you can get even more specific with that and target it. And Tina Marie, same with you. Even though you've started to narrow, you can narrow. You can keep pushing that.
All my pro bono work is men. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'm a women's empowerment.
Desi, thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to jump back to this topic. You talked about psychology of sales, and I've actually been that individual who's invested a lot of money into programs of learning how to make six figures and this space of like hardcore sales. And I've gotten the scripts, I've read the scripts, and there's effective and ineffective things about the scripts. And I just want to put out there this space of like heart alignment service. I don't even like to call it sales, but heart alignment service, where we're not here to pressure, my belief, not here to pressure somebody into coaching. If you've been able to explain to them exactly what you do, what their pain point is, how they're going to achieve their desire by working with you, then allow the person to genuinely say yes or no. But there's this space where we want to do psychology sells on them and get them to see like, you're not going to get better a year from now if you don't invest now. And then what I've noticed with that is then they say yes. And the whole entire time, it's been a tug of war to get them to show up on time, get them doing their homework, making their payments. And they weren't 100% all in. And so what I suggest is don't go chasing people down. You know, I really believe if they're there to work with you, and they get it, they'll say yes. Because if we're trying to pressure them down the throat with like psychology sells,
it's too much. Well, I think for me personally, they're not, you force them into it. They feel pressure. When you feel pressured into anything, can you really be a part, like enjoy it? Can you really, I mean, it's sort of the antithesis of coaching at that point. Because as coaches, we let our clients lead. Well, if they're coming in to be coached and they're not even leading themselves in the door, how is that going to work? Or, I mean, it's in itself contradictory to pressure somebody into coaching, because it's not going to be coaching at that point, right? What I think that it's important to say is that are people for everybody. So you don't have to do that to people. There are people out there that want you and your services because of who you are and what you offer in particular. Your perspective is unique. It is your own, and somebody connects with you. You just have to figure out how to reach them and how
your passion is going to speak more loudly about who you are and what you're doing and how you're interacting than any sales technique ever will work.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's,
if you're excited, if you're
you
smiling,
do have to know yourself, though. You have to absolutely understand what it is and be proud. As I said, be proud of who you are in this process. You have wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there's two things too. There's two parts to that. So the first step is to figure out what it is that makes you excited and you're passionate about, and that's what you want to shine through. That's what people will be. People are drawn to emotion. They connect to emotion. They connect to, and then they connect to what they relate to. So people will connect with you. But the second part is take a moment once that gets going, because everybody can. I always say this: anybody in their own business can get stuck in their business so much that they don't take a minute to look at what their customer is telling them and who that is. So always make sure that you take a beat to go, okay, am I doing this? Am I married to this because I want it, or is it because they want it and it's what they're telling me? So it's important to start with where your passion is, but make sure you're always listening to your clientele and what is working, what is ringing true with them, what is really making them excited as well, and then move that way. Tina?
I wanted to piggyback off of that, because me having been, a successful woman in my own, view, and then having gone to being homeless, not having money, so on and so forth, and then coming back up to where I can kind of afford certain things now, or I can look into. And I mean, I've got coaches in my inbox right now that every day it's something, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to block them. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to feel pressured, especially I don't want to be pressuring prospective clients that have the urge, they really want to, they see something about me that they're into, it reminds them of themselves, there's a spark there or whatever it is. And then here I am like, they're going to back away. And that's somebody that there's a seed planted there. And like Brooke said earlier, if you just leave it alone, she had someone come back to her and say, hey, I've been saving up, I want you. There's tons of coaches in the world, and everyone's not for everyone. And I know I'm an acquired taste. And my dad taught me that life is like the lottery. So the sooner you start playing and the more you play, the better chances you have. And that mindset, me being a mindset coach, right, gives me the opportunity to not feel I need to pressure anybody.
I love that acquired taste. Like, I love that I'm an acquired taste, because it's like, not everybody's going to like me, and that's okay. Like, you don't have, not everybody has to.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. But that's what makes us unique and beautiful and awesome. And that should come through in what we do as well. Jerome, do you have anything to add?
I do have a question, because we're speaking about, I think, a lot of variations in pricing. Is there a world in coaching where it makes sense to stand firm on one particular price for whatever it is that you are offering?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Without a doubt.
I had a client come in one time because I had a different model. I try different models out to see how my pricing works. And I had reduced the cost for my first session. They never really got it free, but I did have different reduction rates. And I had a client's spouse tell me, well, we're not coming back unless we get this same price. I said, see ya, don't let the door hit ya. Because he then just devalued everything that we accomplished. And it was a really great session, even in the first session, by really catapulting my rate in my face, in a sense. And that was a lesson. So always when I have changed things, it's because it's a lesson I learned and I made adjustments.
And don't be afraid to do that either.
Yeah.
Quickly, one of the things you want to think about as well, we can just touch on this real quick, is what happens if you have a client cancel at the last minute? What do? Do you charge them a fee for that? Do you charge them a fee for no showing? Do you refund them? How do you handle your refund policy, essentially? Thoughts, Desi?
Yeah, for me, oh, sorry.
Tina. Oh, and Bobby Lynn, I forgot.
Particularly if you were on one of my clients that was in the bracket of income driven services and whatnot, I personally wouldn't charge a fee for the first 3 sessions, because also when I was in an income driven area, I had to learn that at some point my actions are going to have consequences and reproductions. So even though that they're in the bracket, I want them to understand that I do care for their situation. It speaks to me greatly. However, accountability. So after the first 3 no calls, no shows, or whatever have you, there would be a charge. And everyone else up front, it would be right there in the paperwork, because my time is valuable. I am valuable, and my service, which is me, is valuable. And if you called me a day before and canceled, I can slip someone that's on the waiting list that has an urgent, need to get in there.
And that's, so your window is 24 hours then, so roughly.
The sooner the better, but.
Well, some coaches have 72 hours. Some coaches have a no tolerance policy. So, Desi?
It just varies. So if I have someone who's in a contract and they're with me 12 weeks and they need to cancel last minute for the first time, I don't have a problem with it. I'm not going to ding you. I'm not going to charge you. I won't even deduct it from one of your sessions, because life happens. And I know that I need to be flexible. And plus, I probably just got an extra hour back on my day, and I'm probably actually excited about it. And when we come back into our next session, I'll mention it to them. Just remember, last week you were late. This is not something, that can happen all the time. Next time it happens, it will be deducted from your amount of sessions. If it's someone who has paid one-on-one, like they're just doing a single session with me and they cancel last minute, I'll give them one more time to make it up. Again, I like to be flexible and understanding, but if they do it again, then I'm not reimbursing you. But that's just my policy, how I work with
Bobby
people.
Lynn, do you have any thoughts?
No, I completely agree. I think after one time, I couldn't do Tina Marie's 3 times. There's no way. I would be after, reschedule, absolutely, because life happens. And if it's a 24-hour notice, whatever, we can rearrange and we can make that happen. But if it is consistently happening, it's just probably someone who's not really into it. And if they're in a package that they prepaid up front, I'm not refunding anything unless they move out of state or, something dramatic happens. We're just going to reschedule.
I think it's important that when you do that, whenever you have a non-refund policy, just make sure that that's really clear up front. Just whatever that is, make sure they know going into that, and then you're covered. At that point, you're covered. They know, they agreed to it. You can do whatever you wish, and just make sure that's really out there in the beginning. I want to touch on one more subject before we finish up quickly. What happens with like communication? So we might have coaches, you schedule a call, but you have clients who also want to keep calling, emailing, texting, anything, all of these things. Do you charge for that? Do you tell them no? Do you make clearly upfront? Because there are clients who want to cross those boundaries. So I just want to talk quickly about how you handle that communication side of things.
I myself would not mind because we're coaches ultimately, and someone's going to be looking for us to coach them. So if someone's emailing me, my preferred would probably be the email. And then if there's a necessity for the call, or it's something super urgent or something catastrophic happened and they need to work through something quickly, it would be, before 9 o'clock. And not before, say, 8 or 7 o'clock the next day.
But you're charging him for that time, right? Are you?
It would depend. Right, yeah, it would depend on if it happens all the time. Does this happen all the time with this client? Has this never happened before? Which bracket are they kind of in? What is the situation? I think it would be a little bit more of a outside the baseline. It would be a little bit more on a case by case kind of basis.
This is why I bring this up, because you can end up losing time and money because you are allowing that to happen. So make sure, again, up front, you're very clear about your communication policy. I know coaches that say, okay, you can have unlimited email communication, but we have scheduled Zoom calls. Anything outside of that will be charged at an X amount rate. And that is completely common and understandable. You think of yourself as almost like a lawyer, or almost like your time is valuable at all times, period.
Well, there's been times that I've had some clients that will text me or email me. And while we have a brief interaction, it becomes, when's the next best available time for us to get together?
Exactly. And that's how you make sure that appointment happens. You always want to, again, clarify that stuff for yourself now, so that in the moment, you always know what the next step is, right? Because even in your one-off sessions, you should be thinking about what the next step is, and where that's leading.
I think it's very important to put a time frame on it. Even if it's that emergency call, whatever, like literally right before we were starting this, somebody ER text, can you talk to me? I need to talk right now about something. And I said, I literally have 10 minutes and that's all I have.
But we have 5 minutes left. So what I'm going to do is have everybody give their final thoughts real quick and say goodbye, and then we'll wrap it up. So let's begin with Tina Marie.
My final thoughts, I got a lot of good ideas regarding, I would say, maybe implementing some group coaching, and then the 3 different brackets of, so I have a lot to brainstorm on and be able to kind of play around with before I really launch my business. So
don't be afraid to reach out to in the process. Bobby Lynn.
I love everything you all said about value-based coaching. I took a lot of notes on that, and not devaluing ourselves and even devaluing the profession. I love looking at it from that perspective. On another call at another time, I would love to talk about executive and corporate coaching as well.
Absolutely. Jerome.
I just want to say, what I gathered from this conversation is you are valuable as a professional, as a coach. Don't be shy in assessing that value. And I think you just genuinely have to be honest with yourself when assessing that value. And you are valuable. You want to take that and understand that and reflect that in your pricing.
Desi?
That's been great. Mind jamming with all of you guys. Just a friendly reminder, you are worthy to get paid for your gifts and your time.
Yes. And also remember, you have responsibility to every other life coach out there to not undervalue the profession itself. So it's not just you're pricing for. You're pricing for all of life coaching. So
Not to lay it on heavy, but
not
there
to lay it on heavy, but that's a way to think of it. If you ever have any question, think about that, and that should give you a little more confidence, right? Thank you guys so much for watching. We do this every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Next week, we're going to be having a Father's Day kind of related episode. So we're going to get hopefully some dad coaches on here, and we're going to talk about some dad-like things and coaching. So make sure you tune in next week at 1 Pacific Standard Time, and check out Certified Life Coach Institute if you haven't already. We certify life coaches in 3 days. We have graduates, facilitators, admins, everybody here. Thank you for watching. Like, share, comment, all that good stuff, and have a wonderful day.